Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, The Mistakes You Can't Afford to Make in 2020. My name is Caprice Crawford, and I am the Education Manager here at the Home Furnishings Association, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Now, before we get started, I would like to go over the basics for today's session. This webinar will be recorded and all attendees will receive a follow-up email by this time tomorrow on how to access the recording. Now, as you heard when you joined, you are in listen-only mode, which means that all attendees except myself and our speakers are muted. Although we can't hear you, we do encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation using the chat box you see on your webinar control panel. This control panel usually pops up on the right-hand side of your screen when you joined. Now, only the organizers can see your questions, so I'll be monitoring them as the webinar progresses, and our speaker will address all questions at the end of the presentation. Now, I would like to introduce HFA's own Doug Clark, our content manager, and he will introduce our speaker. Take it away, Doug.
Well, thank you, Caprice. I'm really happy to be here. I'm in our High Point, North Carolina office, and I am really happy to have Jerry Epperson participate in our webinar today. Jerry is an annual, or I guess twice annual, presenter at High Point Furniture Markets in our resource center. His seminars are always really well attended. They're informative and just as good, they're very entertaining because as you'll find out, Jerry's got a great sense of humor. Most people in our industry, of course, know Jerry, but he is a founder and a managing director at Mann Armistead in Epperson in beautiful Richmond, Virginia. And he's got more than 40 years of experience in the furniture industry. He's the expert. Whenever I get a call from somebody in the news media who wants statistics about the furniture industry, I say, call Jerry Epperson because he knows way more than anybody at HFA does when it comes to statistics. He's written extensively. You can read his column in Furniture Today. He was just telling us before we came on about a trip he made to Indonesia on behalf of our State Department. So he's known throughout this country and overseas in the furniture industry. Now, before I go to Jerry, I do want to say some words about some special announcements that our association has been making this week, our Retailers of the Year. And Mark Schumacher, our Executive Vice President, and Robert Bell, who does communications for us. We're in Beaumont, Texas on Monday presenting Retailer of the Year to Howell Furniture in the large employer category. And yesterday they were in Faraday, Louisiana, presenting the Retailer of the Year award to Breckenridge Furniture Company in the category of less than 50 employees. On Friday, Mark and I will be going to Syracuse, New York to present Joe Bright, president of Duncan Bright, with the Emerging Star Award. And Joe is a bright, young, visionary leader in our industry, and we're very excited that he's won this award. And then later on this month, Sharon Bradley, who's our CEO, and I will be going out to the Kansas City area to present Greg Crowley of Crowley Furniture and Mattress with our award, kind of a lifetime achievement award in our industry. Greg has been a real pioneer in product safety, among other things. And so those folks represent some of the best in furniture retailing in the country. And I only say that because Jerry's going to take a little bit of a different look at things during this webinar. We thought we'd have some fun and that Jerry would share some of his observations of things and practices that furniture retailers want to avoid. So Jerry, let me turn it over to you and ask you, as you know, because I know you look at our industry not only from a broad perspective, but up close and personal when you visit furniture stores, and you know what works, and you know what doesn't work. So just Jerry, let us have it.
Since you're the manager of content, Doug, does that mean I'm content?
You are content, Jerry.
Oh,
Yes, you're
good.
substantive content for
I
today.
love titles. I appreciate so much you having me for this. Congratulations to all those retailers. I know most of them, and you've picked great folks, all just wonderful folks. Uh, I'm going to start by saying that we ought to have a recognition of a goal in 2020, and uh, one of the things we don't ever talk about is that uh, when people come into our stores, what they really want to do is they want a house that outdoes the Joneses. They don't want to live up to the Joneses. They want to look better than the Joneses. They want to be the house that everybody in the neighborhood comes back. I mean, you got to see this to believe it. And that's the fun of buying furniture, home furnishings. Uh, it just ought to be more of a thrill to have a home that you can show off than just a car in the driveway. I mean, I just really think that we're growing into that with the evolution of the home as the place to go for safety, the place to go. A lot of people are working from the home, taking classes from home, going to church from home. Uh, I mean, this is all opportunity for us. And I think it's every day is getting better in terms of the technology allowing people to get away from commuting, to get away from a lot of the travel that they do and stay at home. I think that's exciting. Well, I'm going to start off with perhaps my least favorite store ever. When I travel,
I hope it's
I
not an
like to
HFA
go to
member.
furniture stores. I really enjoy it. And it's hard for me to go incognito as a fat bald man on a scooter these days, but I sometimes try. I'd put on a fake glasses and nose, but I still look like me. So uh, it's really fun. And this store I'm going to mention is one I went through in the about 83, 84 period. And Sears had decided it was going to go into furniture in a big way, but taking furniture out of the Sears stores and putting them into freestanding stores, and they were called Home Life. Some of you will remember the Home Life stores, typically 30,000 square feet, usually in some pretty good real estate, and they had hired the best and the brightest to design these stores. And I had gotten to know the gentleman who ran Group 620, which was the furniture segment of Sears, and he invited me to go down and look at this store. So I was excited, thought it would be a great idea. And when I went in, I met a very, very kind, nice lady who was so proud to show me her store. And I was confused from the first minute, only because when you go into a furniture store, I'm used to being greeted with the more high traffic, higher demand items. One of the first categories you walked into in this store was youth bedroom. And I didn't understand that. You need to have product sort of placed in an order of priority or order of what the expectation is of the people who come into the home. The other thing I was greeted with was they had an animatronic wolf playing a piano and an animatronic Red Riding Hood sitting on the piano. The tape wasn't matching the characters. So their mouths were moving when nothing was being said, and then their mouths were closed when something was being said. And all you heard was this knock, knock, knock as their jaws hit. And that was thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars invested in that to be cute, to be different. to make a statement, and it wasn't working. If anything, it was a distraction. Well, then we started walking through the different departments. And the way I've been taught over the years is you really build the way you walk through a store to give the greatest opportunity to your floor salespeople. And one of the early things I learned is you start with your least expensive if you're walking through a path, and then for some dollars, a few dollars more, you can get these features and benefits, and then for a few dollars more, you can get these, for a few dollars more, you can get these, and then you can buy the top of the line with everything. That's true whether you're looking at leather, whether you're looking at motion, whether you're looking at kids' furniture is a great example here. If you put the least expensive and the next one is the most expensive, the least expensive looks cheap and not worth having, and the most expensive is so overpriced you don't want to pay that. If you take it in logical steps so that the people know what they're getting each time, it makes sense. And people have proven over and over again that if you explain to them why there is a benefit from spending more money, they'll spend it. Look at what happened with mattresses. I had stores there for a while that never sold a mattress over $12.99. And then when we got Tempur coming in and a couple of others, we began to see where people were showing and selling $3,000 and $4,000 mattresses. And these were not only big tickets, they were extremely profitable tickets, and taught a lot of people that the bedding business is one of the most profitable for the stores. And everybody should have an excellent, excellent bedding department. I can't imagine a store without.
Yeah.
Well, as we continue on through our store here, I'm going to look at a note just because I've got them here. Although I never will forget that piano. One of the things that was not well stated in the store was the pricing. It wasn't clearly marked. And in fact, on some of the tickets, it had ask a salesperson. And I thought that odd. Most people would like to just look around a little bit and have some hint of a price. I didn't particularly care of that. I didn't like the flow. The floor in total, maybe it was just the period of time, was just too brown. And a little picky thing, they'd have a $3.99 sofa and the lamp that was with it was $2.49. It doesn't compute.
No,
You need to have your accessories coordinated to go with, and they should not only complement the furniture, but they should also be creative. We're talking the occasional tables, the rugs, and of course the lighting and tabletop. All that should coordinate and make a beautiful setting for the sofa and show the sofa at its best.
it's not like buy 2 lamps and we'll throw in a sofa for free.
Hey, you may have just started something. I'm still waiting for rooms to go. If you come in there and buy a TV, they'll give you a sofa. So maybe that's coming soon. But when you look at this and you consider that they had these sophisticated consultants come in and look at this, and then you get into the little things like one of the reasons solid colors, like leather primarily, do really well is you use them with complex rugs like Oriental rugs. Whereas if you use a traditional patterned fabric on an Oriental rug, it might be too fussy, if you will. Most of the stores have learned by today to coordinate the colors. The smart stores will put the number, a Sherwin's number. This paint is Sherwin-Williams number 72 or whatever it is. And the draperies will tend to have certain core colors so that the entire room setting looks perfect. and the consumer can say, boy, I'd really like to recreate that in my home. And you help them. Just making something pretty for the store that the consumer can't replicate in their home sort of defeats a little bit of what we're trying to do. One of the hardships we have in our business is we're not selling books, we're not selling ashtrays, we're selling real furniture. And we're selling furniture to these people blind because we don't know their homes. We haven't seen their homes. We don't know the size. We don't know the color schemes. We don't know a lot of the issues. And I have a friend here in town who moved into a new home, and he was so proud of this desk he bought, but the desk wouldn't fit through the door. I had a lady up in Washington who bought a condo. It was a walk-up condo, and her sofa was too big to go up the steps. Again, if we could have some idea of what the consumer's looking at, we could bring so much more value. And I highly recommend, if at all possible and practical as well, if your salespeople could get to know these consumers well enough to go into their homes. Another idea I heard just this last week was to encourage consumers to start a wish list at your store. Just tell us what, maybe you can't do it today, but tell us some things you'd really like to have in the future. And maybe, just maybe, every once in a while, on your birthday, we might send you a gift. And these kind of things build friendships, they build histories, and we need to start learning more what these people want and what they're looking for, not just what they're there to buy that day.
Now, Jerry, you said earlier that people are looking to put furniture in their homes that their neighbors will envy. Now, given most people are on a budget, can't decorate their whole house at once, do you think it's important or appealing to have one signature piece of furniture in each room? Or would you want to just concentrate on one room and fill it with beautiful furniture?
Gosh, there's so many answers to that, Doug. Number one of the trends of the young people today is to have a signature item that they're proud of and they want their friends to come see that they really like. And I think of the TV show How I Met Your Mother or whatever it was, but one of the stars in there had a Star Wars stormtrooper in his place. That was his signature item that he wanted everybody to see when they came in his apartment. And I think a lot of people are kind of like that. Number two, one of the great things about decorating, Doug, is you can find some great looking, practical, well-priced furniture, and the coordinating rugs are to match isn't more expensive than to buy a really expensive one. The matching paint isn't more expensive than a neutral white. My friend Nat Ansell, who co-founded Ethan Allen, used to say the furniture industry had a white wall problem. We see beautifully coordinated rooms in our stores. Go home and take that same sofa and that same rug and put it in front of an eggshell wall, and it loses something. It doesn't look as good. And that's why people are scared of making a decorating mistake, so they paint all their walls, white or off-white. So we can help them through that. And again, these aren't expensive modifications. They're very inexpensive. And if you do it, you can create this dynamite room.
How about furniture that has a story behind it? Whether it's, for example, there are manufacturers who can tell you where the trees were cut down that made, the dining room table, right, or the bedroom chest.
And
And
sometimes they're telling the truth.
well, I believe that there are some who can do that reasonably close, and and maybe that appeals to the customer if that story is told through the retailer to the customer, and then they can invite their friends over for dinner and say, we're having dinner on a table that came from this forest in West Virginia or Western North Carolina, and by the way, they practice sustainable logging there, and all of those things that make people feel good about the products they use. So how important is that, and is that something that ought to be emphasized more in the industry?
I'd love to see people use that theme, because walking people through your store and saying, well, this is our pine group, and oh, by the way, this is our oak group, and yeah, this is another oak group, that doesn't do much. Uh, a little background, even on who the manufacturer is or the history behind the style. I had a friend, Sherwood Robertson, who used to study the different fine details, and he could explain to you why a French cabriole leg was twisted the way it was, or why there were a certain number of rings on a dining room table. And it gave you some life to the product. It gave you some idea. The desk, the messy desk here with the big piles on it behind me is a Kittinger replica of a George Washington desk. It's a very nice desk if you can see it, but it's a nice desk, and it's what George Washington used when he was president working out of New York City. And then the roll top desk that the computer is sitting on is 2,400 pieces of solid oak went into this roll top desk, and it was made in Mount Airy. But those kind of little details go the way, because the consumer, when they bring people into the home, would like to explain to everyone what was the origins of that style, what makes this piece different. And I think that's a great idea. I really do. I really do. Um, it's common sense, to tell you the truth, but uh, things that the stores need to do. I think that's one. Develop some sort of reason for having that particular product on the floor. It can be a technological reason. It can be it's filling a styling need. It's because you're right off of Lake Winnebago, and you want to have, these are pieces that are very typical of this era in this particular neck of the woods. But I want to mention Al Levy, who's one of the nice people that took interest in me, was kind enough to spend time with me early in my career. And Al and his team from RMG would shop the market ahead of time, at pre-market, and he'd give their members a little book. It was that thick, and it would give. It was made in colored crepe paper, and inside it would have all the new products that were being introduced, and it had their prices and that sort of thing. And then if you were the head person at your retail store, Al would give you one where he had written in the edges, don't buy this, overpriced, looks terrible, don't miss this, the price is too good to be true, buy it early. I mean, he gave you all these hints. But I just happen to have a piece of paper here. Al says one of the first things retailers need to learn to do is to take advantage of what the vendors bring to them. They're not just selling you product. Some of the things you should do is ask about dating programs. If you don't have to pay for it in 30 days. This is especially true in seasonal goods, like outdoor furniture, some other things. You might get 60, 90 day dating. If you used to buy Lane cedar chest or Lane recliners, the cedar chest sold around graduation or Mother's Day and or Christmas. The recliners sold around Father's Day or Christmas. So if you bought it if you would take delivery in the first quarter, they'd let you pay for it at the end of the second quarter after the sales period had come through. So why not use their money instead of your own? Look for these programs. They're more common than you think. If there are rapid ship programs on this product, but not on this, why don't you use the rapid ship program if it's just as good? Freight normalization. If you're in an odd location and other people are paying less freight than you are, ask them for some freight normalization. Association or syndicate discounts. That's really important. If you're a member of your group, you know, there are certain manufacturers, certain vendors who give HFA discounts. Discounts for truckloads, containers, carloads, price cuts you can ask for, but a lot of times, you know, you need to have a certain quantity to do that. You can ask for discount if you've basically filled up 2/3 of the truck and they want to go on and fill the truck. Well, give me a little break on the price and I'll fill up the rest of the truck. Again, these are all Al's product exclusivity in your area. Now, that can be extremely important. Preferred deliveries so that you can meet your sales date. Newspaper advertising mats, TV and radio ads, transparencies, pen and ink, renderings, logos, trademarks, special sale literature, catalogs, consumer handouts with product features, and co-op advertising. A lot, again, this is from the 1970s, but I'm telling you, these are often available to you. So why would you spend money to create these things or reproduce these things when they're available to you for free if you ask for them? Discounts on accessory packages to go with a collection. A lot of times we forget that. Contests to promote the product. I remember a lot of those contests. And travel gifts and other incentives. Again, these are out there, but a lot of the retailers don't know to ask. And so you need to go in. All they can do is say no. So why not ask?
You mentioned, Al, going to pre-market, and you know, our association has a lot of smaller members who don't go to markets at all or very rarely go to markets, and they think they can't afford to, or maybe they can't afford to leave the store, and they rely on reps coming by. But you know, that's going to be kind of a lost profession, maybe, you know, before too long. So what is the importance of going to market and seeing for yourself what's there and what's available?
Two ideas. Number one, you need to network and learn from others what works for them. Remember, the vast majority of furniture retailers are in a fairly narrow area, and another store might be 100, 150 miles away, knocking the cover off the ball because they found something that really works. There's no reason why you can't use that in your territory, and there's no reason why they should mind you doing it in your territory. That networking, that learning of what's going on, that access to new sales ideas, those are invaluable. Secondly, you need to know and match your store, your volume, your location with the vendors that fit you. One of my favorite stores, one of the most profitable stores in this country, and I'm not going to mention the store owner's name, she's a delightful lady, but when I walked in and she had showed me her financials, and truly, she was knocking the cover off the ball financially. Her margins were unbelievable. I mean, her profit margins were unbelievable. Why? Well, the number one thing she said is, okay, she's doing in round numbers $30 million. She said that she decided early she'd rather be $1 million customer to 8 to 10 vendors than to be a $100,000 customer to 30 or 40 vendors.
Yeah.
So since she's $1 million customer to those vendors, she gets their best product, their quickest deliveries. Everything is told her just like it is to the biggest of the big boys.
Yeah.
How simple is that? The other thing is, if she doesn't have something that will sell, and I mean will sell right away, she gets rid of it. She contributes it somewhere. She bumps it off the floor in a scratch and dent. She just gets rid of it. She doesn't want anything taking up space that can't contribute to the bottom line. And she doesn't waste any space. Her walls are money makers. Her accessorization is excellent. This particular lady happens to be in a beach community, and she has the vast majority of her product is somehow beach oriented, because you get new homeowners coming in there, people buying condos, all those. She even does some hotel work because she's got things in there that have that beachy feel. What a great idea. How simple is that? And she's doing it at practical, popular price points.
Is that something that all retailers could do, or does it depend? I mean, do some retailers really need to sell a very, very broad variety of products at many different price points, and so they need more than 8 or 10 vendors?
Doug, the people that have the biggest problem figuring out what variety are the Rooms to Goes, the Ashleys, the Art Vans, Raymore and Flanagan. These big chains need to have something that appeals to the broadest profile possible. And the other thing is, we think about them having such advantages. Well, the truth is, if you're one of those and you have such a size, you're limited in the number of vendors you can use. The people that can ship you in these days container load quantities, because anything smaller than that isn't worth your time or effort.
Yeah.
You walk around High Point and you can find showrooms that have got beautiful product that is not represented in your market at all, that you could show, and people would come in and see things they've never seen before. I was here in Richmond at a shopping center, and pouring down rain, and I'd just been inside and saw a friend of mine at American Signature, and I was coming out, and it was pouring down rain. There was like 6 couples and myself standing in a little porch waiting for the rain to let up, and I started talking to them, and one of the ladies up front said, they were all young, basically. Everybody's younger than me, but anyway, they were young. They all said that their frustration was, if you went to the bigger stores, the heavy advertisers, they all had virtually the same product at the same price points and the same credit programs. And they didn't want sort of that mass product. They'd like to find something a little different, a little more personal for them. And that's the opportunity independent stores have.
Yeah. So in competing with the giants, it's better to just focus your strategy, focus your product offerings, and just carve out a nice niche. What kind of profit margin should you look for if you're trying to do that? What are you going to need?
Well, again, you have to look at your advertising budget, where you're located. Remember that your number one advertising expenditure is your facility and how your facility looks when people come by. One of my pet peeves is you can spend a ton of money on advertising, but if your store looks like it's a dangerous place to go into, or it's unkept, the people are going to ride by, look at it, and say, I really don't want to go in there.
Mm-hmm.
If you run a nice store, you need lighting that shows the product off. If you run a nice store, please don't back your furniture up to the window so people can't look in. If you run a nice store, please don't have signage that's been there for 3 years that says today only.
Yeah. Hey, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I like sales associates who kind of dress attractively.
Absolutely, absolutely. Be clean. I mean, so not everything can be brand new, but it can still be clean. Uh, one of my biggest pet peeves is going into a store and they'll be so proud of the different manufacturers or vendors that they have. And you look up there, and again, I'm more conscious of this than most, and you look up there and half of them have been out of business for a decade. That's really not a good thing to do. All right. It's just not a proper thing to do. But you can run a store today for bariatric people. You know how many of we fat people there are out there?
Many.
We don't want to buy a bed that has insufficient springs. We need something that's got extra support. If we're going to buy a recliner, we need a recliner, a big man's chair, if you will. I'm saying that there's a market, or you can pick a particular style and go after it. And the other thing is there's absolutely no reason why everybody has to sell all the products in the world. You can have just an upholstery store. There are a number of them around the country that are very, very successful. And you sell upholstery and the things that go with upholstery, and your people are trained to be able to tell the difference. Here's this unit. It's available in 4 colors, and we have any of those 4 colors for you here in 2 weeks. Now, right next to it, for a few dollars more, this is a higher grade fabric or higher grade leather, and this has these features, and these features, and we can order it from this rack and go further down. Now, this is a custom sofa. If you want a different skirting, a different welting, if you want a different cushion fill, if you want any of the fabrics that we have in this little display, which is 200 fabrics, we can have that for you in 4 weeks.
So would you say would you say that every sales associate on the floor should be able to sell and knowledgeably explain every product on the floor, which would mean that you are going to have a more limited selection?
I think that's a wonderful idea. But the truth is the mattress industry has gotten so complex.
Yeah.
Just asking the different features and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Why does everybody sell the same names in mattresses? That doesn't make any sense. We've got some mattress companies that are excellent, that have differentiated products that are real valuable. And you can have that product and nobody else can.
Mm-hmm.
That has a lot of benefit to me. That we hear people coming in and say, well, I'd like a hybrid. What kind of hybrid? What do you mean by a hybrid?
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I've been in this business 46 years. Every place I go, the manufacturers show me a hybrid mattress, and each of them are different. And they're a blind product. Doug, none of us know what's inside that thing. That's one of the great things about the mattress business. It's a marketing genius play because it's a blind product. The consumer has no clue what's inside. All of our products are the exact same dimensions. All of them are covered, or hopefully, with sheets and so forth down the road. So the entire thing is to convince somebody that your rectangular is truly better than somebody else's rectangle because of this reason, this reason, and this reason. It's an exciting business. There's no reason you should have the exact same rectangle everybody else has.
Yeah. Well, if you can distinguish it and, talk convincingly and knowledgeably about it and make that sale for sure. So Jerry, you mentioned a couple of pet peeves. I know you've got a long list of them. How about just giving us three or four more of your pet peeves?
Okay, just a couple of ideas that I've always, these are things I like. Art Van, who I miss so very much. What a great man. People didn't fully understand what he had, but Art Van, when he opened his stores, had 4 different stores under that roof. He had the Art Van store, which was very mainstream, quality, good names. Then he had the Pure Sleep stores, which were his version of a sleep shop. But he had the technology inside where the consumer could pick a pillow that they liked, pick your pillow first, the bed for your head. Then you laid down on this test mattress that would tell you of the 35 mattresses on the floor, which ones really were better for you, for your weight, for the weight distribution of your body. And they'd give you 3 on the floor, a good, a better, and a best for you to go try, because without having to try all 30 of them. And
Wow.
so you had the Pure Sleep stores, extremely successful.
Yeah.
Then in those stores that were large enough in bigger markets, he had his Scott and Shrubtrap, which is the high-end custom. But really, it wasn't necessarily that high-end, but it was custom. You could go in there and they had a beautiful Amish line that you could get these 3 or 4 different species of wood in these 8 or 10 different finishes, all the options in the world with your chairs. You could have dark legs on the chair and then a light colored seat and then a painted back on if you wanted to, whatever you want. That's what people liked. And all of that was custom. And then the final part of the store was this clearance center. And that was stuff that was bought for the clearance center. Was there some scratch and dent? Yeah. Was it some returns? Yeah. But he made it look like a clearance center. It wasn't fancy vignettes. It was just lined up in there.
Yeah, you've got a lot of technical industry information about Art Van. Let me tell you what I think when I hear about Art Van, and I'm someone who's never lived in an Art Van state.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible charitable community support,
Absolutely.
and their promotions where if it snows on Super Bowl Sunday, or you get free furniture or something like that.
And
That's what hits me first about Art Van.
When the city could no longer afford to pay for the Christmas parade, he stepped up and paid for the Christmas parade.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy he was. But what having those 4 different stores within one roof gave him was the opportunity to sell this particular store or this particular store or this particular store. And you weren't selling the exact same thing week after week after week. That was great. There's Jerome's out on the West Coast, and that has this wonderful sign inside for its clearance department, scratch and dent, everything else. And it says in there that, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong piece of paper.
Are you on your pet peeve piece of paper or a different piece of paper?
I'm right on the edge of that piece of paper. Well, let's go to my pet peeves. Anyway, it basically says, don't ask for lower prices. These are our mistakes. We want to get rid of them as fast as possible. Help us get rid of them.
Okay.
We're not making any money off this stuff. Help us get rid of it. Works. Stuff.
Yeah.
People love that. Okay. Old signage. I've mentioned, please get rid of old signs. One of my biggest pet peeves is some salespeople don't respect women who come in by themselves.
Holy smokes.
They respect
bad move.
But they don't respect the women.
Yeah.
And those people are living in another age. Okay.
I don't think they were ever in the right age.
Going into the High Point market or the Las Vegas market and saying what's new. I don't care what's new. I want to know what's selling. I want to know what my competitors are selling. The worst thing you can do is just buy new because it's new. Tell you what, it costs stores money to free up the old space, clear out the old stuff, and bring new stuff in put in the product, advertise the product, educate your people. Don't change unless there's a real reason to.
You're saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. You want to differentiate yourself from the internet? There are ways to do it. Here's what a friend of mine has.
Yeah.
He's got it in a nice sign, but basically he says, what most places don't have is a effective selection of the quality goods you want, decorating assistance, advice on choosing among the hundreds of alternatives, knowledge of the local market, custom order opportunities and capabilities, because you don't want to do that on your own and make a mistake, in-store financing, local delivery, repair and service, the opportunity to see, touch, sit on, and lay on the product. Ideas from the displays that can help you decorate. All those things come in, and that's what you got to pick.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about decorators going into people's homes, right? I mean, that's how we started out. So thing, that's a differentiator. That is
absolutely another pet peeve I have is stores today have to recognize that the designers are an emerging force in our market.
Yeah.
And we used to look sort of down our eyes at designers as being sort of a pain in the neck. Let me tell you, the designers today are growing and they are a force in the marketplace, and our furniture stores need to bring them in and learn ways to work with them.
Some stores don't have sales associates, they have designers.
That's exactly right, which is a great way to go. Have them learn from the courses that the HFA offers and others. They can help you be as educated as anybody. Make your people watch The Price is Right. I try to watch The Price is Right a couple of times a week.
Is it still on?
People don't have a clue what things cost. And it assures you of that, whether you're talking a car or whether you're talking a bedroom set. They don't know what these things cost. Why do we worry so much about price? Doug, it makes no sense. You know who else doesn't know price? Furniture professionals. We don't know. We talk like we do. Okay. You want to see what we really know? Go into an accessory showroom, sit there, and with a half hour of your sitting there, a professional buyer is going to come in, look at a lamp, pick up the price tag and go, is this retail or wholesale? If they're a professional buyer at the high point of Las Vegas market and they can't tell whether that price is wholesale or retail on that particular item, do you think the consumer out there who doesn't do this for a living has a clue?
No way.
We are so paranoid about price. All we talk about is price. The consumer doesn't know.
Yeah.
They assume that whatever the price is overpriced. And that's because all we do is talk about discounting of prices. Markups.
Jerry, let me stop you right there because we've got some great questions and we want to leave some time for that. So Caprice, shoot some questions at Jerry.
Great. Well, now we will take some questions. So if you are dying to ask something that you haven't asked yet, please do so in the chat box. We do have a couple of questions. Jerry, the first question came from a retailer that says we're incorporating or trying to incorporate a wine bar / cafe into our store.
Nice.
Is this something that we should be doing? Do you foresee any problems with this shopping model?
Aside from the obvious, having drunks in your store, don't do that unless you're going to use it. And what I mean by that, if you're going to have people come in and teach your customers and your clients how to buy upholstery, the importance of color, what the color themes are this year, all the different decorating tips, if you're going to have those kind of classes and educational facilities and get-togethers, if you're going to come back from the market and have a nice get together and explain to people what you found at market that's new and exciting and it will be coming in the next couple of months. Use it. If you're going to put it in there and just have it sit there and your salespeople take a little nip when they're not busy, it's a waste of your money.
Well, let me just say something there, Jerry, because one of my favorite retailers is Leon and Lulu up in Clawson, Michigan. I was up there about a month ago, and they've got a cafe and a bar and all that. But the key is it's next door to the main retail store, and so maybe that takes care of the downside, but does get people coming. It makes it a real destination, and it's it's kind of fun to go for lunch or for a drink after work, and then maybe step next door and do a little shopping.
Well, Gary Friedman at Restoration Hardware, or RH is known now, is building little hotels next to his, near his stores, and even has restaurants in his stores because he wants his people to have the opportunity to sort of live in this environment while they're making the important decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our friends at IKEA have got a certain priced meal every day that you're supposed to come by and get a deal on. So yeah, I think anything like that is great if you use it.
Okay. I think their thinking is that it's going to keep the customer in their store longer. Your
That's
thought
great.
process on that. Okay.
That's great.
Another question we have is, how do you project sales in an election year? Any
Wow,
thought
I
on
just read such a good column by Dave Perry talking about what all the mattress people are saying. What I dread in the election year is the conflict, the anger, the distress, anything that distracts our consumer is a negative for us. That's true. But it's not going to affect the income gains that are coming. It's not going to affect the homes that were sold last year that will be decorated this year. It's not going to affect the momentum we have going into 2020 with housing. This is the first year since the recession where we've got real solid gains in existing home sales, new home sales. This is going to be a great housing year for us, the first one we've had in a long time. The only thing that's going to be affected is the mentality. So if we can, I don't want to say confidence, maybe sentiment's a better word, because we're all going to go home, get frustrated. I just think that if we do our job, continue to reach out to the customer and give them a reminder that everything might be angry out there in politics, but you're safe in your home and you are the master of your home and you can have it look like you want, be comfortable, be safe, and that's where you want to be. And I think that's an important message in a year with turmoil.
Would you say that it's not necessarily smart of furniture retailers to seem to be on one side or the other of the political spectrum at these times, because that can alienate customers?
My tendency is to please don't do that. I've got one rule my wife and kids know, and that's no bumper stickers on our cars, because riding around's tough enough without giving somebody a reason to run you off the road.
Yeah.
I would try to avoid that, but the truth is there are stores out there that host functions for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They bring these people in. They're known in the community for their support, and it's not completely unlike supporting your church or your synagogue. Using your store as a way to be a gathering place, invite friends in, and use that. It's not completely different. So if you feel strongly enough and you recognize that at least until Trump is no longer a factor and we get back to a politician in office who everybody hates equally. Until we get back to that, you know what the risks are if you use politics.
Okay. Caprice?
Jerry, we got another great question. It says, how do you convince your customer that you're honest? We don't mark up to mark down, and customers often don't believe us because people in town do play the 148% off MSRP game and still get full mark. How do we compete with that?
Well, a real dear friend of mine has the biggest sale in store's history every other weekend. And I'm always kidding him about, I'm really waiting for another sale. But you look at how long you've been in business, how proud you are of your people. Point out, your salespeople. You've got certain salespeople who've been with you 10, 15 years. Point out that you have an ongoing education program, that you work in the community. All that has value. And furniture store owners should not go hide. They should stand out front and be very proud, especially if their name's on the door, and let the community know that I stand behind this product. You know, the Capo family down in Miami, the senior Mr. Capo, who came over and had those, I think it's 9 sons or 9 children. He used to return calls. He'd go into the office occasionally. He's passed away now, but he would go in and he'd return people's complaints himself, just to talk to them and assure them that they'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
What a wonderful idea.
Yeah. You're talking about El Dorado.
El Dorado. Yeah.
Perfect. Another great question is, we've been talking about omni-channel and customer experiences a lot. And the question is, what percentage of attention and expense should websites be giving compared to the physical location?
You need to think about what your website is meant to do. If you're going to use your website as a way of educating the consumer as to what's available and what's coming, and communicate on a regular basis with emails and refer them to the site, then that's different than if you plan to open a website that anybody that can go on that website anywhere in the country and buy from you, and then you have to somehow get it to them. Websites are great for education. They're not great if you want to compete with the Wayfarers and the other people out there. The delivery problems, the return problems, all of that is just beyond the pale. Aside from mattresses, there are no internet retailers right now, independent furniture retailers that I'm aware of that are making money. They're all losing money. They're losing money. They're hoping to get big enough to get somebody's attention and be bought out. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to come back and say, no, we're making money. And Crate and Barrel's making money. I have no doubt Restoration Hardware is making money. But they're making money because they have that wonderful, as you say, omni-channel presence, where you can shop in the store and then go home and think about it for a while and look. It's a complete package. But the internet is not for the weak at all.
Well, thank you very much, Doug and Jerry, for your brilliance and your insight today. We thank you so much for.
You're talking about Jerry. Jerry, thank you for you're modest, but you've shared a lot of wisdom today, and
Absolutely.
It was great. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Now, we are going to wrap this up only in the interest of time. So thank you, everybody who participated today and asked questions. We want you to mark your calendar for our next webinar, which will be Wednesday, January 22nd. And it is titled Expand Your Furniture Business Nationwide Without an E-commerce Store. To read the description and register for this webinar, please visit our website at myhfa.org and go to the webinars tab. Again, this webinar, including the question and answer portion, has been recorded and will be available to watch on demand by this time tomorrow. Everyone that registered will receive an email from the Home Furnishings Association that tells you how to access the recording. If you do have any questions for Jerry for the association, please give us a call at 1-800-422-3778 or through our website at myhfa.org. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
And a great new year, please.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thanks much.